You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, good day, everybody. Hello, whatever time of the day you are. This is the Fezcast, and we've got five people, so this could be quite interesting because, it could have been worse. We could have had a pack of Fezcasters, but joining me tonight is Alex, Matt, Barry, and Duncan, as we're going to do a bit of a review of the season for both the men and the women, and give out, as we end our season, the Fezcast Awards. So, good evening, everybody. How is everybody?
All very quiet by the sounds of it.
You're all being polite, waiting for everybody else to jump in. So anyway, look, I'll jump in. Before we get into the main bones of it, just to say well done, Jamie George, being called up to the British and Lions training squad, as we thought might happen. You know, you get injuries, you get a bit here and there. You got players who are still involved in competitions, and Jamie would have always been on that list, wouldn't he? And well done to him for getting called up. We're all happy with that.
Can't argue with it.
Yeah. Presumably playing Dublin. I don't know whether, does it definitely mean he's on the plane? I don't know.
You'd imagine so. He's going to be there or thereabouts. And given that, there's opportunities for players to get injured. And when we saw Finn Russell hobbling off, so here we go, contractual mention of Owen Farrell early doors. He could always be getting a phone call from his dad as well, other than to say, you're coming around for a roast this Sunday. It always happens to the British Lions. It's never the 33 men or whatever is picked straight off. There is always additions, isn't there?
Could always give Christian Wade a call back from Wigan.
And obviously, there's players all over the place, isn't there? What do? Do you go on holiday? Let's go around the room. Start with you, Duncan. Women's season, men's season. Give us a 3-word review for each of those.
3 words for all of that. Up and down, basically, and a little bit more down than up. But it's been very variable, isn't it? So there's about 19 words for you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Duncan. You always have a go at me for going on. But Barry, you are the person who compiles a 3-word review, so I'm expecting a good one from you.
Well, that about a good one. So for the women, I've got close, no cigar. There is a comma in there if anyone wants to be a pedant on the punctuation. And for the men, I've got let themselves down.
Well, yeah, that's fair dues. And Alex, how about you? Let's start with the women as well, and perhaps your primary interest, shall we say?
Yeah, I think for the women, not giving up. There were multiple times this season where people said, we're not going to get to the final, or we're not going to make it to the semis, and we kept doing it, and we lost to Loughborough, and then we came back. So I think just we kept believing in ourselves and kept going and proved people wrong.
I totally agree with that. I think that was something that was shown throughout the season, that they were being written off, which isn't like previous seasons where there's been an expectation. And indeed, coming up against a really good quality Gloucester Hartpury team in the final, they still give a good account of themselves, albeit against the best team by a little way around.
Even in the final, it kind of gave hope, we can go to that last minute. We might have an opportunity to score. We might do this. It was never like, Gloucester Hartpury scored, that's it.
And for the men, what would you sum up the men's season as?
Looking forwards and kind of building to the future. It's a very young side. Okay, lots of people, again, didn't think we were going to get to the semis, but actually we had a lot of turnover. So just looking to build to the future.
Matt, for you?
It's difficult to come up with anything that hasn't already been said, really. But yeah, for the women, I just went with the last hurdle hurts because, as Alex sort of said, there was a lot of hard graft to get to that final, and then it just didn't quite happen. I'm going with our cricket club speak for the men's. Bertie Bassett's all sorts. There's a hyphen, just to go with Barry's punctuation.
For myself, for the women, I reiterate what you're saying there, Matt. Nearly, not quite. For the men, I think my 3-word review is Falcons, Quins. Because that's what cost us, isn't it? Those 2 games were the ones that really did disappoint me and will live long in the memory. Despite the great stuff that we did play this year, those 2 games are are going to hurt, and I think they're going to hurt not just us, but an awful lot of people around the club, aren't they?
Is it just because Alex is here, or are you trying to make the coup redundant?
It could be, isn't it? We're being very polite, Alex, so we're on best behaviour after that. But yeah, no, excellent that is. And I will say, at this point, thanks to everybody who put in their 3-word reviews. Thank you, Barry, for compiling those, and Matt for starting it all off as well. I think they've been really excellent and helped us inspire us to what we put in the shows.
Yeah, I will try and remember to do them after every game next season, not just after the ones where it suddenly go, oh, hang on, I've got to do the 3-word reviews on Twitter or whatever it's called this week. I promise to get better, and I will try not to miss any. I did miss some last week, apparently, but unfortunately it wasn't by intent. It's just a copy and paste out of a web browser, and sometimes it doesn't pick up all of them at the bottom of the list. But yeah, I mean, it's great to get some feedback, and it's great to get some idea of how people are thinking.
Matt, you get the emails through. Have we had too many abusive ones? I mean, we've had the ones which have been quite well constructed. I know how much you enjoy trawling through all of those messages.
We've had a handful of emails. I mean, it's always hard to get an email into the show, to be honest, but I do appreciate getting something. We've had a few bits of feedback actually directly into our Spotify account as well, which unfortunately I've only just realised happens, and I've picked up some from about a year ago. So congratulations and thank you for those, everyone. Yeah, we'll get better at that.
It was nice this week to get a message from Mark Thompson, our former chief executive. His comment to me was congrats on another season. And he's saying he's enjoying the pod far more now. He is a step removed, which it's good to know that, you know, he still has an affiliation for the club and listens in and wants to know what we're doing. Right, shall we have a break there? And then we'll come back and we'll do the Women's Awards. Let's see what we go for after this quick break.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
You're listening to the Fezcast, which is proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association, and I'm Alison Davis, one of the SSA committee. For a £10 annual subscription, the SSA provides our members with monthly newsletters, virtual and in-person player events, away match ticket allocations, and we organise pre-match gatherings at away matches. We sponsor men's and women's players, and we support the Saracens Foundation Track Club on behalf of our members. On top of all that, every year we have a seasonal SSA badge, which is exclusive to members. Where else can you get that much value for a tenner? Join now at membermojo.co.uk/SSA, or come and see us on match day in the Oasis at the Stonex.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, welcome back, and time for the Women's Awards. And we've got to cast our minds back quite some time now, because the women's season seemed to have finished about 6 months ago. And indeed, Duncan, I know with your advanced Alzheimer's and everything, I mean, you couldn't remember tries or Unsung Heroes, could you? So, I mean, when we talk about those ones, you're a little bit at a loss. But should we start an awful long time ago, Alex, that the season ended?
Yeah, I think especially with the Six Nations in between, it's not even the last tournament that a lot of them played in. It seems a lot longer ago than it was.
Should we start with the Unsung Hero? There's one person who got 2 votes, but I think there's a few people around who we need to have a chat about. And I just want to offer up my 2 Unsung Heroes. When you hear who I'm saying, you'd think, well, they're not really Unsung Heroes. One is Leanne Infante. And I say that because, you know, she retired. We had a crisis. She came back, and there's every chance she came back, and she might well have been carrying a sprog as well. I mean, that's beyond the call of duty. And when you interviewed Matt, Alex, it showed that she had a complete love for the club that meant that she was happy to do that. And that's a bit of sacrifice there, isn't it, Matt?
It is, yeah. I totally get what you mean about being an unsung hero, because she kind of... she was a very sung hero when she retired for the first time, but then sort of had to come back for 5 games and sort of came and went without too much fanfare in the end, really. So, yeah, I really, like you say, went beyond the call of duty for us, and a fantastic person to have around the squad. Hopefully she's around a little bit next season as well, as a non-player.
The other player I wanted to mention, though, as an unsung hero, is someone who has got a lot of plaudits over the years for being a great player, but it's Poppy Cleal. And the reason I say Poppy is because she has been in and out of the England squad, but now seemingly is completely off John Mitchell's radar as an England player. Although John Mitchell will be mad not to keep her in mind, given, World Cup experience, there may be injuries, but there are other players ahead of her. And it'd be very easy for Poppy at her stage in life. I mean, she's not a young girl anymore. She is at the latter stages of her career. It'd be very easy for her to have taken that disappointment, maybe done a lot what Mary Earp has done in the football and said, enough's enough. I'm just going to give up the game now. But she hasn't, and she's put in, after those disappointments, some of the very best performances of the season in that time.
It was incredibly surprising that she's not in the squad because she's had a fantastic season. I wonder to what extent that comes out of the motivation of trying to get into the England squad, and it'll be interesting to see how good she is next season. But I thought she was brilliant.
I do just have to say that Poppy does listen to this show, so I'm looking forward to fielding the abuse that I'm going to get on Instagram after basically called her the old woman in the squad.
I don't think I said old. I said she's the more experienced player. Woe betide me to meet Poppy somewhere where she would argue that toss with me. Bobby, you've got many years ahead, and we know that you will be putting that effort in. But we do also appreciate the fact that there has been some disappointments and it hasn't affected her performance. Now, I'm going to hand it over to you, Matt, for one of your choices, because one of your choices is the person who's going to win the Unsung Hero. You've gone for Bryony Field as one of your suggestions.
There is a reason why our player of the year was able to play in the back row, and that is because Bryony Field is an excellent hooker, a great line-out thrower, and whereas someone has been getting the plaudits all year, quite rightly, Bryony has just got on with it, has played pretty much the same amount of minutes, scored plenty of tries herself as well, and has been pretty fantastic, really, but has been overshadowed by someone else's absolutely brilliant season.
As much as you talk about all these players who perform great, they can only do it if they're given the platform from a team and support, and also being pushed in their position to be better than they possibly can be. And Bryony Field has certainly pushed players in her position and around her to be better whenever she's played. John Barrett, he mentioned Kelsey Clifford, and Kelsey Clifford is someone who probably qualifies for, she certainly had some couple of great tries this season. I think she would qualify for young player just about, and also was in the mix for player of the year.
She gets on with it, and she's kind of consistent in the front row. She doesn't necessarily score all the tries, but she's kind of doing the work to get us closer to the line so that other people can score the tries.
She's getting her chances now, a recognition internationally and being an integral part of that international side as well. So brilliant. Alex, you nominated, as well as Matt, the player who we are going to make our women's unsung hero, and that's Emma Hardy. So tell us why you think Emma deserves the award.
She's consistently been in that 13 jersey pretty much all season, and it doesn't matter kind of who's playing 12, whether it's Sophie Bridges, Sarah McKenna, or someone else. She kind of just always turns up. And that's continued even when like internationals are away, and she doesn't necessarily get on the score sheet, but she's kind of just been consistent the entire season.
A lot of it is off the pitch as well, like most of the girls do. She's combining playing rugby with her job. She's got a role within the Saracens Foundation, does a huge amount of work in rugby in there. And there's a big article on the Saracens website fairly recently about her struggles mentally over her career playing rugby as well. Pretty much fell out of love with the game, and coming to Saracens was maybe a risk is the right word, but it was a bit of a fresh start for her. And yeah, she'd come in and been very, very solid. And as Alex said, a pretty integral part of the team, and keeping some international players out of the lineup as well.
Emma, congratulations for becoming the Fezcast Women's Unsung Hero of the season. Moving on to try of the season, and there's been some spectacularly good tries. Matt, you've nominated Kelsey Clifford. She scored a try against Bears that you think was pretty special.
100%, yeah. Came out of nowhere, to be honest. I think somewhere maybe on the 10-metre line, Kelsey gets the ball and brushes aside 3 or 4 players like they don't exist, basically, and runs it to the try line and needs to hand in a prop card immediately.
And I'm sure that over the years, that try will get further and further and further away, and more players will have been beaten. But Alex, I'm hoping that we're talking about the same try, because you and me voted for Jess Breach versus Quins. And I'm assuming, is this the try where she took the steepling high kick and then just ran it straight back, and Bish Bash Bosh, part of the Red Sea, scored the try? Absolutely fantastic. Are we talking about the same try?
Yeah, it's that one.
Thank God for that. Well, because there's 2 of us who voted for it, it's the try of the season for her. I mean, I'll tell you why I think it was try of the season, Alex, because there were some spectacular tries throughout the season, wasn't there? But this came, if you remember, I think it was Jess's second game back after a long-term injury. And the week before, I think it was you and me, Matt, and Alex, and on the Fezcast, and we'd sort of said, Jess has come back, and I can't remember who they played. She looks a little bit rusty. And you thought, is she going to come back the player that she was? It's a long time off. It was a really bad injury. Is there going to be a hangover from that? And then the following week, she did that against Quins, and we all went, yeah, the Breach Express, the Jess Express, it's back and it's running on full steam. Is that how you felt, Alex, when you saw that try go in?
Yeah, and I just think kind of at the time it came in the game as well, it kind of gave us that confidence to keep going and kind of not let Quins in, and we ended up winning the semi-final, so clearly something worked.
Duncan, you did put down when we asked for nominations that your dementia forbade you from bringing it, but do you remember that try as well?
Well, I can't remember where I left my glasses 2 minutes ago, but actually, yeah, if I could have remembered what game it was in, that was definitely the try of the season for me. I do remember it vividly, Jez. No, it was superb. It was great. The shame about Jess is that she can't be fullback for England, because she's on the wing, and wingers don't have quite as much space and time, do they? And that was a classic case of a fullback receiving it deep, seeing what's in front of them, and then taking the correct route.
England have a absolute bevy of options at fullback, don't they? And Eddie Kildun were to get injured, Jess Breach, everything, whatever. You know, they're all players are going there. Barry, you got your finger in the air.
Well, yeah, I was volunteering for cricketing umpire, that's for sure. I just wanted to go back to the Jess Breach try. Did she run past or round Ellie Kildun to score that?
I think she might have actually tried to dummy on the hot dog salesman as well at some point.
That was a measure of the try. Ellie Kildun is probably the best fullback in the world, I would suggest, or very close to it. And she couldn't lay a finger on Jess as she ran that one back. So, yeah, a great try. Well worthy the try of the season, I think.
She scored a good try, Ellie Kildun, but apart from that, we kept her very quiet, didn't we, in the whole game?
Well, that game we did, yeah. I mean, I think the whole team, a team performance that with Jess's try being the cherry on top of the icing, on top of the cream, on top of a quite nice cake on that day. Well, so congratulations, Jess. Well done on your try of the season. Now we move on to young player of the season. And the young player I mentioned, because I think she does just qualify. I think she's 23. Kelsey Clifford, again, you know, I nominated her for young player, and we've talked about her quite a lot tonight, but to be able to be in the running for just about everything other than the player of the year, and actually, to be fair, she would have been in the running for the player of the year for a lot of people other than the one player who's going to get it. Duncan, you mentioned Jaya Bennett, who I tend to agree with you. I think she's a fantastic prospect and could perhaps do with putting on a couple of kilos, but I mean, every time I've seen her play, and she hasn't had the hugest amount of opportunities, but every opportunity she's had, she took it and worked hard with it, didn't she?
It's disappointing not to see her in the final run-in. She was there solidly in the early part of the season when there were no internationals around, usually coming on with 20 minutes to go and always putting in a good performance.
I think she was great. Alex, is that a player that you looked at and really enjoyed seeing them progress?
Yeah, and I think it looks good for the future as well, that we've kind of consistently got those players coming in. You know, we've got 2 or 3 players coming through each season. And that means consistently looking to the future. And it's not after the group of players leave, we're not going to have a problem of we have no one to play. We've got those people coming up. Now,
Alex, you've gone for a scrum half who got injured at the wrong time for Leanne Infante, obviously, because she had to come in and cover her. But Tori Sellers is your choice for young player.
I think she's consistently been up there with Ella. And sometimes you don't know who's going to start the game. Like, either of them could start and would be as equally good as each other. And I think, yes, she got injured at the wrong time, but then she came back And you kind of didn't notice that she'd been injured, really. She kind of just slotted back into where she had left off. And I think that showed just how good of a player she is.
It allowed Leanne Infante perhaps to retire when she wanted to retire, other than the comeback, because you can look at it and say, you got Ella, you got Tori, that position is safe. And Matt's mentioned it before, haven't you, Matt, about where Maro Itoje has said that perhaps some of the older players are holding positions, waiting for the youngsters to come through. Leanne looks at that and said, we've got 2 quality scrum halves at the club, and I can now move on.
You look at this season as a whole as well, just sort of talking broadly about it. Obviously, it was condensed into a period of a few months. Alex Osterbury, understandably, has relied on the experienced team that he's got. So a lot of the players are mid-20s and things, but there hasn't been many of the really young players that have got too much of a look in this season, other than that block of 4 or 5 games at the start of the year while everyone was coming back from international duty. And you know, everyone that we've mentioned so far, their really key period for us was that opening 4 or 5 games, which we had 100% record in. We won every single one of them. I think the only person from that, plus the other one that we'll mention in a bit, is Gemma Jo Linkins, who started at fullback for all of those games. Another brilliant young player who, beyond October, didn't actually get a minute. So we'll see plenty of them in the next few years, I'm sure.
Necessity meant that they got blooded, maybe perhaps earlier than perhaps the club wanted, but it's going to be experience that will see them in good stead going forward. Let's move on, though, to the player of the year, and it's the player that you nominated, Matt.
I've forgotten. It was Amelia McDougall, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah, I mean, Amelia, across last season and this season, is another one that's been thrust in very young. See Zoe Harrison having injury issues for a period of time, and Amelia looks like Zoe 2.0 almost sometimes. And he's one of those younger players who did feature throughout the whole season. I have to say to Kelsey Clifford, sorry, she did qualify, but she's actually, I think she's coming up to 100 appearances. So to me, it doesn't actually count as a young player, sorry. But yeah, Amelia, I mean, who knows what's going to happen, to be honest. We've been blessed in the Saracens women's team constantly having 2 or 3 players good enough to start at fly half for us, and you can only pick one. So hopefully Amelia and Zoe will be sharing some minutes going forward, because she looks absolutely fantastic.
Something perhaps the men have missed and maybe get in next season. Who knows? You never know. But there we go. Well done, Amelia, again for her award as Young Player of the Year. Now, time to move on to, well, the most clear-cut decision of them all, and something that'll be repeated when we talk about the men's game as well. But our player of the year is everybody's favourite posh potty mouth hooker stroke flanker, the diminutive but plays about 4 foot taller than what she actually is, May Campbell, which I think everybody voted for May. May Campbell typifies Saracens as much as perhaps Marley Packer has over the season. She has beginning to develop and really grow that aura of being the person who drives the team, who is the inspiration of the team, and who the players follow regardless. And when people have been on international duty, and she wasn't, she was leading the team. She's been an absolute superstar again, hasn't she? And as we all know, an absolutely lovely person to boot as well.
We're blessed in the club, really, that we have leaders who play in the front row across the men's and the women's side. And May is definitely someone that leads and leads by example as well. You know, a fantastic player to have on your team.
I mean, Alex, what do you think is May's greatest attribute? What does she really bring to her game and the team's game that marks her out as somebody really special?
I just think that versatility to play either at hooker or on the back row, and especially you see that across the field, that she might be playing in the back row, but she's got the skills of a hooker or vice versa. And then that just really helps her to kind of move up the field and score tries and do everything that she does.
She's got to be top of the tackle charts. She's got to be top of the yards made. She's just like Duracell Bunny going 100 mile an hour everywhere, isn't she?
She's got every single angle of the game. She's been absolutely brilliant at, and we haven't mentioned she's got an eye for the try line. The thing that I really love about her as well is that a smile on her face puts a smile on my face, because she's always got it when she's playing, isn't she?
Yeah, she certainly has. I mean, Matt, you've enjoyed interviewing her this season and in previous seasons when we've spoken to her. She is open. She is willing to come on, generous with her time as well, isn't she?
100%. Yeah, it's always nice to speak to her. And I think someone's nailed it. That she's a great ambassador for the team, for the club, and for us as well. So her form of the last few years, Alex Osterbury said in our interview with him earlier in the season that this isn't just good form from May Campbell. Now, this is the level that she plays at. It's not phase. She's just reached a higher level of rugby. And as May said herself, a lot of that is down to hard graft over the last couple of years. She's been name-checked by people outside the club in the England camp as well for just how hard she's working to get the opportunities she does. So I really hope May makes that World Cup squad. She is in a bun fight with Connie Powell still for that position probably. But regardless, fantastic player, and more of the same next season, I'm sure. Some of the tries might even be scored from 7 yards out.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's important what you say there, Matt, because, I mean, she has reached a level of excellence despite having a disadvantage of not being a full-time rugby player. She holds down a job. And you said when you're in an interview that she was going in early so that she could do some work with Rob Webber. And the fact that she can hold down a job and be in a bun fight for that last position with a full-time rugby player and be excellent. I mean, I just wish John Mitchell had given her a bit more time and given her a start for England, which she deserves. But I think that, she's still pretty young. She's only in her mid-20s, isn't she? So there's still a bit of time for her. And I think if she continues to show the dedication and the determination and the skills that she's undoubtedly got, she will make that high leap. But she is totally 100% totally deserving of our Player of the Year award.
29 years old.
She's got a whole 4 years on Poppy Cleal.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yes. Well, I've obviously dropped myself right in it this week, haven't I? But congratulations to all our winners on the women's side. Let's have a break there, and we'll come back and discuss the men's awards after that.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hi, Alex Osterbury here, Director of Rugby for Saracens Women. You're listening to the Saracens Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Let's move on to the men's awards, and a lot more fresh in the mind. So we had a few more votes going through, and the young player and the Player of the Year were both pretty clear cut. So we will do them last. First up, though, we'll do the Unsung Hero, and there's been a number of really good offers out there as to who should be the unsung hero. I mentioned early doors Rob Webber. I think Rob Webber has come in and made a huge difference to the team. Really got that front row working well, which was a weakness the previous year. And him and Pelia worked really well together, developed some really good play, some trick line out work and everything like that. He's done a really good job for the club, hasn't he, Matt?
He has, yeah. I mean, we're not doing a signing of the season award, but I think I'd name someone other than Rob Webber, to be honest, for that. Yeah, it was a problem that was identified last season. They've gone out, brought someone in of a high caliber as a experienced coach, experienced player, but relatively inexperienced to the Premiership as a coach. And yeah, he's gone out and done brilliantly. So hopefully we can do the same with now we've identified that our attack is a problem for next season.
Staying off the pitch for unsung heroes, Sam came up with an interesting one. No, Sam can't join us tonight. Surprise. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? He suggested Mark McCall as unsung hero, which is weird because Mark's not the first person who ever goes up in front of the cameras, but every time he does, he stands up there. He's honest, but he does play everything with a very, very straight bat, talking in cricket terminology. But it's been an interesting season for him because previous seasons, other than the relegation season, things have gone pretty well for him. This season, it hasn't been quite as good, and there's been some murmurings of discontent from people, perhaps with an element of over-entitlement, shall we say, forgetting that the guy deserves to have a bit of time to get this right again. But Mark's had a difficult season, hasn't he? And he's dealt with it pretty damn well.
Yeah, it has been difficult. It's probably been the most difficult period that he's had. Even more difficult. Remember that was about 3 or 4 month period a few years ago when we couldn't get a win. Got bashed by Claremont, bashed by Leinster. Really were doing badly until we managed to get turn around the performance at Claremont. That was a particularly difficult period when the club didn't seem to know what to do to turn it round. And he's been managing that kind of situation again recently. I think Matt's absolutely right. The absolutely key signing that I'm hoping we're going to hear about, whether it's Owen Farrell or whether it's anybody else, is an addition to the attack side of the game. Similar kind of solution that came with Rob Webber. So we'll see. I think that's the key part of his job to sort now, because the squad's looking all right.
Yeah.
As we've said before, that we've got some great players, and it's a measure of the disappointment of the season that we haven't been able to see them really play to their potential.
I don't think anybody at the club should be beyond criticism if there is issues. But Mark McCall, we always say it, don't we? In Mark we trust. He has got enough credit in the bank to be given the opportunity to get things right. And, this season is a transition season. It is an evolution season. And I think we are stepping in the right direction, regardless of Quinn's fault, because whatever it may be. Mark is an absolute gentleman. He's committed to the club, and you can see he's still got that fire in his belly. The other group off of the field who you nominated, Barry, and you've nominated the medical team, and for one reason and one reason in particular.
I was at Quinn's in, when was it, September, October, when Andy Onyema-Christie went down with that awful injury, and a few of us thought, well, that might be it. It might be his race run. We certainly never expected to see him back again this season, and to have got him back on the pitch, to have got his head in the right place as much as his legs, it's just a fantastic achievement by Laura and the whole medical team at Saracens. And obviously there'll be other people involved in that as well with operations and what. But yeah, I just thought that was a fantastic, an unexpected bonus, if you like, but a fantastic result for everyone involved there.
We also need to add on to that as well, the fact that Andy, if you remember the videos of him, actually, there he is, his legs in a different postcode to his foot, as it were, and he's still watching the game on his phone because he cares that much about the club. I mean, and that shows you that they obviously had some pretty good gas in there available, and horse tranquilizers or whatever else they were shoving in to deal with the pain. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Barry. That was an amazing, miraculous how well they did, and credit to all of them, the way that they get them and other players back injured, and also keep players going when we know. I remember I had this conversation with my wife, and she turned around and she looks at players and she says, you see the hits and everything like that. I says, it must hurt. And I said, there's only one other game of rugby you play in your career where you don't hurt, and that's your first game. And within about 5 minutes, you're hurting, and that's it. If you play rugby, regardless of the level, you hurt for the rest of your career. And the way that medical teams can patch players up and get them on the field and keep players like Alex Good going until he's 96 or whatever. I mean, it's just absolutely outstanding what they do. So, all credit to them. Coming onto the field, though, a couple of nicks we need to speak about. Charlie and John put through their nominations, and young Charlie, he mentioned Nick Ezekwe, and it's an interesting one. And he said the reason is because Maratoji gets all the plaudits, and Nick hasn't had perhaps the international recognition he deserves, although he has been in and around the England squad. But when we've needed a player to really step up this season in that engine room, when players have been on international duty, Nick Ezekwe has really, really done the job, hasn't he, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, was it the game against Gloucester towards the end of the season, playing at home? He absolutely dismantled their line out on his own, and he's perfectly capable of doing that. And I totally get that. Obviously, Maro's going to get all of the headlines, all of the credit, and he needs someone alongside him to do the rest of the work. And it's been Hugh Tizard a little bit this season, and it's been Nick Ezekwe for the rest, basically. He's a very solid, very dependable player, 4, 5 and 6, and a perfect guy to have in the squad. So, totally with him.
But the other Nick, someone you mentioned, Alex, and also James had mentioned as well, Nick Tompkins, a player who we think has been running on empty for about 5 seasons, but every week, he comes out, he puts in 100% effort, doesn't he? He will throw more than the odd intercepted pass. I think he's had 3 this season, hasn't he? He said he had 2 that I can remember off the top of my head. But, he never lets that get down, and he just goes out I don't know how he does it. I really do not know where he delves down to get those energy levels back up, particularly as well after having a pretty despondent tournament for Wales in the Six Nations, Alex.
Yeah, I think he's not quite there internationally sometimes, but actually for Saracens, he's been there consistently week in, week out, doing the same stuff, got a couple of tries as well. And I think kind of it's those people that you need that the rest of the team then kind of work off and say, well, if they're doing that every week, then I should be doing that every week, and kind of give something for the younger players to look up to.
Younger players like Ollie Hartley, for instance, are going to be learning from the likes of Nick Tompkins. And particularly, I suppose the other thing as well, Duncan, is that Nick's had to take on quite a bit of responsibility as a leader in the back line, especially after Alex Lazowski's injury early on in the season.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's had the really bad fortune to have chosen to be Welsh. So I suppose he's partly to blame himself. But boy, that's not been easy, is it? I saw him play in the World Cup for Wales against Australia, and he had a brilliant game that game. It's ever since that World Cup, he seems to be constantly at it, doesn't he? Getting battered, whether it's for us or for Wales. And it was towards the end of the season, his energy levels seemed to be right back up there, and he seemed to have a really good run in, I thought.
We're going to move on to the player who we've decided is our unsung hero. He got more votes than anybody else, and it's somebody that we've been talking about quite a lot recently. A lad who joined us a few years back now, 4 or 5 years, certainly it was just after relegation, wasn't it? And came in. We spoke to him on season 2, was it, of the Fezcast, and Matt was more interested in finding out his theories about hunting zombies. But a player who really does epitomise something that Saracens have done really, really well over the years. For want of a better term, I don't like the term journeyman, but Alec Clary is one of those guys who's a solid, dependable pro. He's never going to get international recognition. He's never going to be the first name on the team sheet. But that moment when you go into training on a Monday and Marco Riccioni's been injured, and you look around and you go, Alec Clary, you're going to step up and play for the team. 5 years ago, you might have gone, is he going to carry a Premiership level? Now you look at him, you say, you don't have any problem with Alec Clary in that squad. And actually, if he had to start a game, Matt, you wouldn't worry either about that at all.
Not at all. No, yeah, he's been around. Like I said, I can't remember which side of the relegation it actually was. It may have been in that weird sort of summer where we had to finish off the season that he joined us. But yeah, how many tight heads have we gone through in the last 5 or 6 years? It's a position that we're having some issues with even before Vinny Cott left Saracens. We've gone through lots and lots of tight heads. And Alec Clary has been there throughout all of that. He's been a perennial third choice, basically, when we've tried all sorts of players throughout that. And yeah, I expect to see him on the bench every game. Basically, that's his role for us. Clearly, he's a well-liked member of the squad. When he comes on, he just goes about his business, no fuss. His game has come on brilliantly with us. I think Rob Webber has got the best out of him as well. And yeah, it's just a thoroughly good bloke to have around the squad. You can hear him from a mile off as well. It's great.
You're playing for a professional rugby team. You've got to be worth your place in the team when you are picked. And Alec has proven that time and time again. But what he brings to that team dynamic, to that squad dynamic, something that Saracens have built an awful lot of success on over the years, is knowing when to have fun, how to have fun. And Alec Clary, Duncan said it about May Campbell putting smiles on his face. Alec Clary put smiles on people's faces. And when I went down to the training session, you could see that in spades. The players enjoyed his company, and he was a focal point around which they gathered and enjoyed themselves before the real business got on. But then when the real business got on, business head went on as well.
There's a little switch inside him that can go from being the entertainment officer to a 110% serious rugby player, and long may it continue. And you're right, I think he did come to us during that COVID season, didn't he? And we kind of wondered if we brought him in specifically to play in the Championship, but he's hung around for a lot longer than perhaps we thought he would originally, and he's well worth that place in the squad for me.
Well done to Alec, and he's an absolute superstar in his own way and fully deserving of an award from us. And as I say, he might not get the Player of the Year award, but he certainly deserves recognition. And I'm glad we were able to give it to him on this show. Next up, try of the season. And this one, there is one clear candidate come out, but I think we've seen some great tries this season, particularly in the final part of the season, Duncan, where our attack, after the coaches obviously listened to us moaning on about how we wanted to see a bit more depth and a bit more pace and a bit more speed into gaps and a bit more directness, we scored some great tries. I mean, we talked about the try that Juan Martin Gonzalez scored against Saints in that final game, which was coast to coast, LA to Chicago, as Sade would have said, and scored in the corner. Fantastic stuff there. Really some great tries scored. Sam suggested Angus Hall against Tigers. That was a great try. We've got Fergus Burke's try against Exeter. I think you like that one primarily because of Rhys Carre's setup, wasn't it, Matt?
It was, yeah. I mean, I think when we did this last season as well, I picked prop tries. I picked Kelsey Clifford's try as a prop for the women. I've obviously got a soft spot for props doing stuff when we score. But yeah, Rhys Carre making a line break, actually dummying someone. You could pinpoint the moment where Rhys Carre's look of absolute glee on his face, having beaten someone and broken 20 metres, turned into panic, where he didn't know what else to do. Unfortunately, had Fergus Burke near him to do the rest. But a fantastic try.
I could just imagine it being a Jamie George grubber kick through from Rhys, and that would have just been absolutely hilarious. In fact, I think I'd rather have seen that than the try being scored because just the sheer comedy value of it. One try that I wanted to mention, which I think was very close and probably very close on a lot of people's lists of getting try of the season, other than the one that did win it. But you, Alex, suggested it and I nominated it. Juan Martin Gonzalez versus Gloucester. And I nominated it for the couple of reasons. One, the sheer chaputs of what he did. And Santiago Carreras is probably still having nightmares, and we'll see Juan Martin Argentina training and probably poo himself when he sees him coming at him, and certainly in training he'll just get rid of the ball whenever Juan Martin's anywhere near him. Number one, but number two, for the fact that it absolutely boiled people's wee-wee, didn't it, on social media, because the levels of legality of it were pretty close. But regardless of the fact, referee didn't blow his whistle. The TMO saw a clear release and a get up. But Duncan, that was a special try, wasn't it? It was an absolute daylight robbery and a mugging.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those games, wasn't it? It was one of the games where we did really well. There was, despite all our complaining about how we went forward, there were actually some spectacular tries all through the season. And I picked Tobias Elliott against Sale just as sort of a representative of many, where in the one I was thinking of, the ball came into a line out, a lot of great interplay in the backs, and over goes Tobias Elliott. It did happen.
Alex, you really enjoyed that one, Martin Gonzalez try, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it's a really good individual try. He didn't really need anyone else. He, competed it start to finish, from getting the ball to scoring it. And that kind of just individual brilliance to be able to see that this is what he needed to do, and then to get through two lost plays and then score was just great.
Well, Martin Gonzalez does remind me an awful lot, and I'm going to pay him a huge compliment here, in so much as I remember when Wayne Buck Shelford was coach of Saracens back in the days beyond, late 1990s. And we went to a fans forum and the question was asked, how do you make Saracens into a championship winning side? And he just turned around and said, give me another 14 Richard Hills. And Juan Martin Gonzalez has got that ability that you know full well, that if you turn around and you had a crisis at fullback, or you played him at fullback, he'd be bloody good at it. And he'd be a pretty good hooker. And he'd probably do a half-decent job at scrum half if he had to. He's just one of those players that has every attribute about him that makes a great rugby player. Not a great blindside, not a great home side, a great rugby player, Matt.
When he first burst onto the scene with us, I mean, he was a good player from London Irish, but when we first got him, it was a lone move, and within about 3 weeks, we're like, we just need to throw whatever money we can to keep him, and so glad we did. But I mean, this season he's actually been quiet's the wrong word, because our back row's actually been pretty good, but he's not been at Tom Willis has overshadowed him. I'm going to have to throw the name out already. Juan Martin Gonzalez's end to the season He's been our best player over the final couple of months of the season. Actually, someone pointed out to me the other day, and I didn't even realise, that Gonzalez has scored 9 tries this season, and he scored 8 of them after the showdown.
Wow.
His back end to the season has been amazing. And yeah, who knows what we do in our back row? We've got so many good players, and he's one of them, and so many young players coming through. I don't know how we fit them all in.
It's a very nice headache to have if you're the coach, but yeah, it is a headache all the same. Now, you mentioned Tom Willis there, and I mean, he is the player who gets the try of the season, and it's for his try against Bears, which is another one of those tries, Duncan, that we went coast to coast. There were moments of sheer genius in there. Absolute. How did that happen? There was a pass, I think Fergus Burke managed to take it on his fingertips and then moved it on. But what made the try for me is Tom Willis taking the ball on the wing, showing some pace, beating a man on the outside, then having a look at a fullback coming across and thinking, do you know what, I'm going to just make you look stupid. And stupid he did, with a bit of a Maori sidestep and then over the line. It was an outstanding try, wasn't it? I mean, it will live long in the memory as one of the great Saracens tries, not just this season, of any season.
I've forgotten it.
No, we know that's because you mentioned, mate. There we go.
No, it was brilliant. Really, really good. And no doubt we'll be discussing Tom Willis again, I suspect, because it was just indicative of his whole season.
Absolutely superb. And as I say, we are going to talk about Tom a bit later on in this discussion. So we'll say congratulations to Tom for his first award of the show. We'll move on first to Young Player of the Year, which was as equally as clear-cut as May Campbell's award for Player of the Year for the women, and also who we're going to vote in as our Player of the Year for the men. But our Young Player of the Year is Tobias Elliott. But before we talk about Tobias, there's a couple of names I think we need to throw out. Ollie Hartley had a pretty good season. I know, Duncan, that you really do rate Ollie, and I think whenever he came in and played, he really did show himself up in the best possible way.
He certainly did. I mean, he's got that Brad Barrett battering ram style to him. A lot to learn. We've talked about it during the season. And funnily enough, after getting heavily overshadowed by Sale, we didn't see anything of him again. He's one of the crop of young players who's going to be increasingly important, I think.
Someone who is still a young player and who has done pretty well this year, Matt, is Theo Dan.
He is, yeah. I don't know where he sits in the criteria for our Young Player of the Season. He's probably either side of it, maybe just outside Young Player of the Season now. But yeah, he's sharing the role with Jamie George that Jamie George shared with Shout Brits at this point. I think they've probably played the same number of seconds this season. He's had a little bit of the yips with his line out this season, but as a dynamic loose player, yeah, he's fantastic. So yeah, just hope he can sort a couple of bits out, and he'll be our number one hooker for a long time if the rumours of him disappearing off to money bags put to bed, which I think they are.
And the other young player I want to mention before we moved on to the actual winner, Charlie Bracken. We talked quite extensively about him over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Chip of the old block, a pass that is Kieran Bracken to a T. Accurate. He's really developed his game, been given the opportunities to step up, and he's done brilliantly well as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I wish, in a way, he'd got a few more minutes in some games, but his time will come. He shows no lack of confidence and leadership in a 9 for a young man, so he is definitely one for the future and one we'll be talking about, hopefully, for many years to come on the Fezcast.
Just a quick word, Matt, for Max Eek, who you mentioned for his Premiership Cup performances, particularly the game we won against Quins, where he was outstanding.
Yeah, it was worth a mention. I mean, he's probably only played 5 or 6 games this season, but that little block, one Premiership game, I think it was, and the rest of that Prem Cup, he was head and shoulders above opposition for a long time. Yeah, and looks like a real prospect we got, again, in that stacked back row that we've got. But I mean, young players all round, for all of our transitional season, there's not loads of them that have had a huge amount of game time. But yeah, Max is one of them, along with, I suppose, we've got Angus Hall as well, who's got a few minutes off the bench in the league this year. But there's
Nathan Mikulov as well.
Yeah. there's plenty that I think we'll see more of next season for sure.
But our young player of the year, and I think I think this is a player who will get young player of the year awards all across the board, and indeed potentially at a larger level as well. But Tobias Elliott, Alex, I mean, he's had a fantastic season, hasn't he? He's come in, he's nailed down one of those wing positions as his own, and he knows the way to the try line, feeding the ball, and he will score.
He's so young, and to get that kind of starting shirt and kind of be like, this is my shirt, this is what I'm going to do, and prove that he can do that and live up to all the other wingers that Saracens have had and that are in the Premiership and compete on that level consistently, is just amazing for such a young age.
Wouldn't surprise me, Duncan, if he goes away with England to Argentina and the US this summer.
It would be good for him to get some different coaching. The sort of player, he's got so much to his game already, and he's especially big, he's powerful. As you say, he gets over the line. If he had a little bit of coaching from Chris Ashton, he'd probably have everything to his game, wouldn't he? Just a bit more experience to come inside and get on the shoulder a bit more. But he's brilliant.
Yeah, and you can see that he's learned an awful lot from the likes of Alex Good as well, who've imparted on that knowledge to the extent that Alex can now retire quite happily. So well done to Tobias Elliott for being our young player of the year. Now we move on to the player of the year, and as I say, everybody I think voted for the same player. I mean, it was as clear cut could be. Although he wasn't head and shoulders above everybody else, there are other players that perhaps we could all have nominated. And I want to talk about 4 players in particular. We've just spoken about Tobias Elliott. We don't need to do too much more about Tobias. And we've mentioned Juan Martin Gonzalez as well, who's had, as we say, a fantastic end of the season. But 2 players that for me were very close to getting my vote, one in the backs and one in the forwards. In the backs, Roti Shegan has had a fantastic season. For a small guy, he's pushed himself about in defence. He's amazing under the high ball, particularly the attacking high ball, which we know we use an awful lot. But he's also scored tries, created tries, and he creates mischief wherever he goes, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. What a player. He stepped round you in a phone box. He's one of those kind of wingers. And as you say, in defence, he likes a tackle. He goes looking for work on defence, and he goes looking to make tackles. And when he tackles you, I think opposition players know they've been tackled when they're running down his channel.
From a player that could step you in a phone box to a player that would struggle to fit into a phone box. And I say that very much tongue-in-cheek, Mr. Carey, just in case you get upset about it. I mean, I've upset too many people already, but Rhys Carey, he came to us after being told by Wales that he was too unfit. He didn't reach the thresholds to play international rugby. And he's come to us and he's been absolutely outstanding. I mean, Matt, you talked about his break and to set up Burgess Burke, but I think Rhys, as much as Rob Webber has sorted out the front row, Rhys has come in and done a really great job on that loose head side, and him and Aroni Maui between them really shorn that side over. But Rhys Carey's had a fantastic season, hasn't he, Duncan?
He has. And there's a lesson for you there, because the funniest thing you've said all season is the shortest, snappiest thing you said all season. No, he's been brilliant. Really, really superb. I mean, not only has he given us a few comedy gold moments, we had, with the left with the break there and on his own is always a fantastic sight to see. And he still takes a lot of taking down when he has it. But boy, brilliant. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, fantastic signing and a really nice guy, actually. I mean, I met him when I went down to Old Albanians. And I mean, I lost my hand when I shook his hand because I mean, he's got hands like a JCB shovel. They're humongous. This is the worst kept secret of them all, isn't it? I mean, we've alluded to him all out the season. Tom Willis has had one hell of a season, and I had to vote for Tom. And this is my chance to get in my own contractual mention of the fact that the number 8 union stick together here. I couldn't look past my old position for the player of the season, and Tom Willis has taken number 8 play to a different level. And, we've talked about players that have left, will we miss them and everything. Billy Villapola, an amazing player for us, a brilliant player for us. Were we going to miss him when he left last season? Oh, Tom Willis has pretty much gone. Billy who? Not that we're forgetting Billy, of course, but we don't miss Billy as much as perhaps we thought we would do, Matt.
Not at all. I think there was, for a period this season, there was almost like a weekly Tom Willis appreciation statistics post going around on social media, because the numbers that he generated in carries, meters made, offloads. It was like he was playing in a dynamic backline, not playing at number 8. He is basically playing like Billy was in his prime, where it takes 3 or 4 men to bring him down sometimes, and even when it does, he's made a couple of extra meters and got a bit of go forward. What you hope doesn't happen is everyone recognises that and just gangs up on him. we lose that impact. But yeah, what a season he's had. And it's surprising, really, that recognition for England has taken as long as it did to come to him, really. But yeah, more of the same, please.
One of the secrets to playing rugby is not all about putting players into space. It's how you create space. And let's be honest about it. If you've got a back row that could include Juan Martin Gonzalez, Ben Earl, who we haven't mentioned, who's had a fantastic season, the Andy Onyama Christie, whoever it may be, Theo McFarland. If you've suddenly having to put 3 players on Tom Willis, the space that creates for other players can only be good. And, perhaps next season, that's where his real benefit will be. You often see it that players will have a standout season, and then the next season, they're marked, but then that allows somebody else to step into those gaps, Barry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw it. We saw something very similar with Billy Vunipola towards the back end of his time with us, that he added an offloading element to his game. And if Tom can do that, bearing in mind that he's got 2 people hanging on to him at the same time, as you say, that's going to create space for someone else, and someone else will be through the gap and gone before the opposition realise it.
I always remember the old French centre Duncan, Yannick Yozion, who was fantastic at going into a gap, converging 2 players onto him, and then ball would come out. Sonny Bill Williams did it for New Zealand. Those were backs who were known for their hands. Billy Vunipola did it. I think Tom has shown a few offloads this season, hasn't he, that have brought other players into the game as well.
He has, although he's such a monster going into the tackle, isn't he? And as Matt said, he takes so many players with him. He's so effective. He must be tempted not to do it. But if he could just add a bit more, again, be nitpicking here because he's been so brilliant. But yeah, he'd be superb. I don't think he's going with the Lions, is he?
No.
Well, in a way, that's a blessing for us because there's often this Lions hangover, isn't there? Because they're playing matches right into August. So touch wood, it'll be as good next season.
Yeah.
Always helps to have both England number 8s. We did say at one point that when Ben Earl was holding down the England number 8 position, that he was England's number 8 was not the best number 8 at Saracens. And as you said, it was surprising how long it took for Tom Willis to dislodge Ben Earl.
Yeah, it's certainly something I like to see, and it's the way that we played the game a lot, is that if you've got players with the explosiveness of Tom Willis coming round a corner onto quick ball from a ruck, who then take past the gain line, set up another ruck, Alex, for the likes of Juan Martin Gonzalez to do exactly the same, and then Ben Earl to do the same. I mean, that's going to be so difficult to stop if we can get that working, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I just think the calibre of player we have in the back row and the amount of players we can pick from week in, week out, and the fact that Thomas kind of just goes above them all and is like, okay, I'm competing against, incredibly people are starting for England, but I can still hold my own and kind of prove that I very much deserve this place.
When we talked about the season, we should be looking with some enthusiasm and some confidence going forward because of these units we have that are so good and the players that are so good. And yeah, we will see a progression as these players bed in even more next season.
Strong rumour that his brother Jack is coming back to England, floating around today. So I don't think he'll be coming to us because he'll take a club with given the kind of wage packet of being their marquee player. So he's going to Bath.
Yeah, to join their other 7 marquee players. Yeah, sorry, again, I'm saying these things out loud. I mean, they're terrible, isn't they? But so anyway, congratulations to Tom Willis. Now, we do want to make 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards and honour two people who have been the fabric of the club for so many years. First off, of course, Goody, Alex Good, 402 games, 42 years playing, or however long it was. I mean, what an amazing career that boy had. What an amazing player. What a lovely bloke. He's fully deserving of us giving him something special, Matt, isn't he?
Yeah, one of the first people I think we had as an interview when we were doing this show. I think it was one of the first inductees into our Cult Hero Hall of Fame that we were doing early on. And yeah, that was 5 or 6 years ago, and we thought he was pretty much done at that point. But even right into his last game, I don't think we've ever had a player who has, he's not blessed with express pace or a lot of individual attributes, but what he does best is somehow get out of trouble as a fullback. I don't understand how he's able to just spider around, as it was known, and just find a little gap out of the 22 when we're struggling in defence. It was just this uncanny ability that you couldn't really lay a finger on him when he had the ball close to his own try line. It was amazing.
Yeah, and of course, the thing to remember about him playing fullback as well, Barry, is that he must have played 90% of his games for Saracens at fullback, and it's not his preferred position.
No, for someone playing out of position, he's done a hell of a job of making a career out of it, but a fantastic player. I don't think we'll see his like again in the professional game. I don't think you'll see someone playing in the same for one club for 17 years and 400 odd appearances. I just don't think it's physically possible anymore.
All credit to Goody for that. The other person we need to mention, of course, is Kevin Sorrell. Alex Good has spent 20 years at club, and we don't know what Goody's journey will be following this. You'd expect him to be around the club, but Kevin Sorrell been at the club, man and boy, 30 years. And decided this year, whether it's a mutual decision, whether it was just, the writing on the wall, whatever it may be, he's left on his terms. He's left as one of the most successful coaches we've ever had. He's been an integral part of 6 Premiership championships, 3 European Challenge Cup wins, and a fantastic player, a fantastic coach, and a fantastic bloke. Kevin Sorrell, fully deserving of being, well, a club cult hero. We'll. I don't think he ever got mentioned in that one there, did he, Matt? But we'll make him a club cult hero here and now, and say, thank you, Kevin, for all that you did for the club. But I think it's a measure of the man, Alex, that there is no rancor, there is no sour grapes, there is no, I didn't want to leave. He's gone head held high, a lot of pride, and done it in exactly the right way. And that, no bridges have been burnt. He clearly loves the club, and he wishes us all the best as we wish him the best.
Yeah, I think you sometimes see that with other clubs where they kind of just chuck coaches out if something's not working, or they decide they don't want them there, and it's not happened here. And they've kind of, it's all been very polite and kind of, very kind and just been like, oh yeah, okay, so I'm leaving. I love the club. I'm still going to kind of stay connected to it. I think that just shows what kind of the person he is and also what the club's about.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. It's not like how Exeter got rid of their coaches this year, is it?
Yeah, very, very, very politically correct from Alex there, not to just say Exeter, I think. But
yeah, so you tee me up, Alex. I'll put that one over the cow corner. Thank you very much.
No, it's quite sad for me, really, because Kevin Sorrell's time at the club has basically spanned my life. So yeah, it's a bit of an end of an era for me. But
that'll make him feel an awful lot better, won't it? Now.
And actually, his wife was my English teacher as well at school, so there is a bit of a connect there. But yeah, he was one of the few people that spanned the days of early professionalism at Saracens, the merry-go-round of players and complete lack of success, nearly getting relegated for years and years and years, and then for a while post Night of the Long Knives as a player, and retired as a player just before the success side of things, and obviously then went into the coaching team. So he's seen all of that Saracens history that we've had throughout the professional era. So it really is hard to overstate what he's done for the club.
There should be a block at the one of the stands, shouldn't there? And, as much as we say the Brad Barrett stand or the Nigel Ray Stadium, I think the block, perhaps where Duncan sits, should be the Kevin Sorrell block.
Yeah, I could name my padded seat after him.
You never know, he might get a job and serve you with your champagne and your canapes. Barry, you got your hand in the air again. I mean, you're signaling over a 4 or a 6, or you want to say something?
Well, if we do name something after him, I hope we just do it a little bit better than your football team, Jez, who one of our showpiece games at the London Stadium, I was amused to see that I was sitting just above the Billy Bonds toilets.
No, just because you're not haven't got anybody worthwhile talking about to name anything after. Look, that's great. We say congratulations to everybody who's won awards, and to those who haven't mentioned, I think it's important to say well done on putting their heart and soul into the games that they've played this season and giving us something to talk about. We'll have a quick stop there, and then we'll come back and do our roundup and the last few bits and pieces.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, welcome back to the last part. We're just going to wrap everything up and do our thanks and everything. But before we do that, I just want to say a bit of a personal thing here, but say happy birthday to a long-time supporter of the club who today, we're going out on Wednesday, celebrates their 80th birthday. That's my mum, Christine Denton. So from the Fezcast and everybody, and I'm sure everybody at Saracens would like to wish my mum all the best on her 80th birthday. Well done to her. I mean, you never know. She might get a book about the laws of rugby on her for her birthday that she'll read. But, she's been a long-time supporter, and they don't go as often as they like to now, but as they're getting older. But, happy birthday, Mum. Right, before we do the thanks, I'm going to ask you a very quick question each, and it's about the Fezcast. Just give us a highlight of the Fezcast Season 5 for you each. For me, dead easy. Getting a chance to go to Old Albanians and see training and be around the squad, meet some of the players, and talk to Marco Riccioni, spoke to Warwick, spoke to Sam Spinks on the day. But for me, the actual highlight of that is, and I don't get starstruck very often, but Maro Itoje coming over to me, not me going over to Maro Itoje, and Maro Itoje thanking me for being there and he didn't know me from Adam, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't think that Maro listens to the Fezcast, but he has got an aura about him. And a lot of people have talked about his captaincy, and you'll stick your hand in the air and say that, you were concerned at the start of the season. That boy's got an aura about him that it's star quality. It's the X factor. It's whatever it is. You see it every now and then in sportsmen. You see sportsmen that transcend their sport. Muhammad Ali, Ian Botham in 1981 for the Ashes. People like that who transcend their sport, and Maro Itoje is one of those people, I think. And it was wonderful to speak to him on that day, and that will stick with me for a long time. And as brief as it was just him saying thank you and me saying, well done, congratulations on the England captaincy, whatever. What a great moment that was in my life.
It's episode 41. I've run out of things to say. But, yeah, I mean, fairly similar, to be honest. Obviously, from my little corner on the show, I've had the opportunity to be behind the scenes a little bit, mainly at the women's games, and just how approachable everyone is there on that side. I've had some fun interviews post-match, but for me, a lot of it is about what we don't record. To be honest, there's always been a bit of a giggle in the back there. But just to pick one person out would actually be Alex Osterbury, who I think has come on the show 2 or 3 times this season and actually makes a point of coming and doing it from time to time. It's just fantastic to have a coach come and give his insight straight after a match and be pretty blunt and brutally honest about it sometimes as well. So, yeah, always a highlight. Hopefully we can do that again next season without Harry behind the scenes. So someone that just diving in early with a thank you there. Thank you again to Harry, who's done the media side for the women's team for a few years and has given us that access. So all good.
Yeah, and Alex, is it something from the women's side that you really sticks in your mind about the Fezcast? It was your first season with us. Have you enjoyed it, first of all?
Yeah, I have enjoyed it. I think just getting to interview like Leanne Infante and May Campbell and kind of getting that opportunity to speak to the players that I've spent several years like watching and following was just a really cool kind of moment.
And I think from all of our point of view as well, Alex, you've really not only have you brought the average age down significantly, and I mean, if you look at Duncan and Barry, that's obviously needed, but you've really added something to us, and I think you've grown as a person and grown as in confidence in what you've done here. Is that something that you feel you've achieved this year?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped kind of my confidence and just kind of being more comfortable about saying what I think and just kind of doing that kind of stuff more regularly.
And Duncan, how about you? Do you feel a bit more confident now?
Something I've never been lacking in, funnily enough. I mean, it is the interviews are a great part of doing this. I've had, a number. The evening I spent with Louis Johnson and Kinagondwe was very entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and in a similar way, it was just great fun talking to David Strettle because he's a fun bloke to have a chat with. Yeah, fascinating career, and a point of satisfaction for me. The interview went out in a bit of a fallow period when traditionally our listener numbers tend to drop, and it's been nice to see over the weeks and over the months the listeners to that just steadily rising to put it right up there. Not as high as your interview with Alex Good, but catching up.
Yeah, I really think the interviews we've done with players over the years, I mean, the likes of Chris Chesney was a wonderful interview to do, and I think that really resonated with the people who listened into the show, and all the other interviews we've done, and also getting hold of players, and perhaps because we're not Sky Sports or TNT or whoever, they're slightly less guarded with us, and you got things out of Louis when you did that Q&A that we recorded, Duncan, that perhaps you wouldn't get anywhere else if you were Martin Bayfield or whoever doing that, or Hugo Monye, would you?
Yeah, he was very honest, talking about, the feelings of the team. Maybe lulled into a false sense of security because silly fool, he thought he was amongst friends. No, they've all been very, very open and honest, haven't they? Apart from Alex Good, when you asked him what he was going to do next.
Yeah, I know. I've had these moments, but me and Matt will remember the days of sitting there with Wolfie and Joe Shaw and trying to work out who was going to be the next head coach, and Joe Shaw keeping the most straight poker facer I've ever seen. I don't think we'll ever be the stars of the rugby version of All the President's Men. Let's put it that way. But there we go. Barry, last word for you on highlights. What did you most enjoy about this season on the Fezcast?
So I think for me, it's been the opportunities when I've had them and when we've been able to arrange it to chat to contributors from other teams' Fezcasts. I mean, obviously we've had the Cherry Jam on a couple of times. We've had Bears Beyond the Gate on as well. And that's been great to chat to other supporters and get a little bit of their insight on it. But the absolute standout moment had to be the discovery of the new England winger, Emmanuel Faye Wasabi.
Highlight for me as well.
Oh yeah, but Duncan and his spoonerisms. Never knowingly got a name right yet, have you, Duncan?
No.
Well, look, I mean, it's been a fantastic season, and I think what's been great is, and this is a weird thing to say, and I don't know how much you agree, Matt, because I mean we've been doing it. Not wishing to pull rank, as it were, but we've been doing it since the very start. And the first season we did it when it was the season down in the Championship and everything was a bit different. And then we had seasons where we were winning and we won trophies, and that was wonderful and whatever. This season has been a bit more difficult on the playing front, but that's given us a lot more to talk about, hasn't it?
It's been a very, very different dynamic to it. I mean, we've always said from the start we're never going to be Arsenal fan TV and throw everyone under the bus, but we have had to be a little critical at times and a bit frustrated. And even then, we still get told that we're too nice. But yeah, in a way, it's nice to have more to talk about. I mean, the weekly contractual mention of Owen Farrell looks like it's going to continue into next season as well. We've got him to thank for our listener numbers at the back end of last season skyrocketing with all the rumours are going around about him leaving, and it'll carry on. But yeah, we're obviously evolving a little bit. I'm absolutely knackered, so I'm glad there's five of us sitting here rather than just you and me still, Jess.
Me too.
Yeah, indeed. You mentioned Harry for all that he did on the women's side. I really do have to mention Ollie Shapley for everything he's done in facilitating what we have got and the people that have been on, the players that have been on, access to players when, we are just a little organisation. So, we're not TNT, we're not the Daily Telegraph, we're not BBC News, whatever it may be. So the fact that he gives us the attention and allows us that access and will continue to allow us that access. And I've had a chat with him about the start of next season, and we hope to have something really, really good to start next season. But yeah, thanks to Ollie for everything of that. From me personally, we mentioned the team, and thanks to all the members of the team. Duncan, Barry, this is your second season each, isn't it, I think? Sam, and John, they've been sporadic but when they do come on, and James, they've been really good and they've offered something to it. Alex, your first season, fantastic from you. You know, as I say, you've really added something to it. And John coming in at the end of the season as well to become part of the team after I got him on, knowing that he'd been down in Toulon. Fantastic. And, you know, I might have a whinge every now and then when I have to send 17 messages out to find out who is available to record of a Monday night or whatever. We couldn't do it without you guys. And, you know, you've taken an awful lot of pressure off of me and Matt that perhaps if we hadn't had that help, we'd have frazzled out and ended it a long time ago, wouldn't we, Matt?
Yeah, I think I might have given up last year. You never know.
And a little thank you to David Loxham and Nigel Eaton, in particular, Nigel, for being the only person who'd seen the game that we were talking about. Actually, I think you went down to Exeter as well, didn't you, Alex? But, been very useful to have those guys to step in.
Yeah, and indeed, and everybody from the SSA as well who promotes what we do and talks about it and gets us involved in open evenings, whatever. Fantastic from them. Well, I can't think of too much more that we need to say, really, and it's probably beyond my bedtime or coming up that way. And Alex, you've got some revision to do, and Duncan, you've got to get back in your coffin, haven't you, or whatever you sleep in these days, and bury the same. But I will say thank you to all of you. Thank you for everybody who has got involved and been part of it, who've been interviewed. Too many names to mention. But most importantly, I say thank you to the listeners who have stuck by us and have listened to our ramblings and our witterings and our inanities over the last 41 episodes. Without you, it wouldn't be any point doing it. So thank you to everybody who does tune in every week to hear what we've got to say and gets involved and sends us free word reviews and everything. But we'll sign off now for this season. No big games to look forward to. Who's in the final? Who cares anyway? The British Lions coming up, whatever, and we'll be back whenever the next season starts. But we'll keep your eyes on the social media and everything, and we'll let you know when we restart up the season 6 in 2025-2026. But thank you, and all the best.
Cheers out.
This is the Fezcast.